Are you unhappy with the moniker?
I love it.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no,
okay.
Don't care. Bring it on.
We were discussing the Pats at number 3. What's your sense there?
My sense is quarterback. I don't think Jerod Mayo was speaking out of turn when he kind of went on these interviews and talked about, kind of hinted at what they were going to do. I will say, look, obviously, number 3, you want to draft a quarterback, go with God. By all accounts, you need a quarterback. If you don't consider Marvin Harrison, it would be organizational malpractice. I think there's a lot to be said for Marvin Harrison at 3. Figure out the quarterback later, whether it's a bridge year with a veteran, or you could draft a kid in the 3rd round. There's not as much pressure. I think there's a lot to be said for that model. So, look, if they want Jaden Daniels, if Drake May drops to them at number 3, great. But they really need to consider Marvin Harrison.
Okay, when I ask you, you say quarterback. Is that you saying that, or is that what you glean from the organization?
I think that I've been told that Jonathan really wants a quarterback, and I think Jerod Mayo, is probably leaning in that direction. I mean, and they need one, and they've never had this opportunity to get one this high since Drew Bledsoe 30 years ago.
You're saying Director of Player Personnel Jonathan Kraft is leaning quarterback?
Well, I do tend to think he might have his finger on the button with that particular pick.
How do we feel about that?
Well, we'll see. I guess the proof will be in the pudding, I guess. It feels to be more common now across the NFL, where I think you're seeing teams going away from the all-powerful footballs to a more top-down organizational.
Well, which is a very, very kind way of saying daddy's kid runs the team.
And he wouldn't be the only one. There's other teams like that as well. The Chargers come to mind, where the owner's kid is really kind of the one quietly in charge.
How have they done?
They've collected a lot of talent, so you give them credit for that.
Watch out for Philly, too. I hear Laurie's kid. But anyway, keep going.
So it does seem like it's a reorganization of the power, the structure, the structure of power here in New England.
Okay, so who does Jonathan like? Does he like a more full quarterbacks? Do you want a pocket passer? What are his principles there?
I would think he probably leans more towards like the more complete Drake May type of passer. But, I mean, Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be a very intriguing prospect for the Patriots. And I would love for them to get a playmaker like that. It's been a while since they've had some real playmakers, some real excitement on offense. I mean, we went gaga over Malik Cunningham in the preseason, and Jaden Daniels should be much better than that. So it would be really neat to have a playmaker, but I would be worried about forcing the pick. Just because you have that number 3 pick doesn't necessarily mean you have to take a quarterback there.
What do you think of the staff, Ben?
What do I think of the staff? So let's go back to, I think it was October, November. I wrote that a lot of people around the Patriots believe that Vrabel would be the Kraft's home run hire. He's all teed up for them, and they don't even, really contact him. They don't even make an attempt. So what's going on there? It really feels like the Krafts didn't swing for the fences, that they were just trying to make contact and get on base. And by promoting Jerod Mayo, promoting DeMarcus Covington, it's a lot of the same people from last year. It really feels like the entire goal of the offseason is just to untether from Bill Belichick. We need to move on from Bill Belichick. It's such a massive process because of how powerful he was with the coaching and the personnel for over 2 decades. Instead of trying to put all our eggs in one basket right now, let's take a little bit of time. Let's take a couple of years to maybe reorganize the team a little bit, the power structure, and let's just move ahead with Mayo and some people we're familiar with.
Are you surprised by that at all? Did you think they'd be more aggressive out of the gate in rebuilding it?
Yeah.
What was your sense on that?
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't bother talking to anyone from any other organization. Didn't do an interview process. They decided 4 years ago, apparently on a trip to Israel, that Jerod Mayo would be the next coach in waiting, and he had the qualities to be the next coach. And look, maybe he is the answer. Maybe in today's NFL, it's less about X's and O's and just a guy that the players believe in. And I do think that Jerod Mayo is going to have probably pretty good buy-in this year from guys who, he's certainly someone who's been there and done that. So I am surprised that they didn't go through a more thorough search, but this is the Krafts. We know they just like people they're familiar with, and they've now created an organization where they're very familiar with all the people in charge.
Where was Alex Van Pelt on their list of candidates, do you think, at offensive coordinator?
I don't think he was at the top. I have reason to believe that he wasn't at the top of their list. I think he I do like the hire. I like that he's a quarterback. Bill O'Brien, with all due respect, was like a defensive end in college. So I like that Alex Van Pelt is a career quarterback, and he's always worked with that position, worked with many different players. So I like that about him a lot. The fact that his profile, he's a guy who just got fired and he's never called plays, and now he's the guy you're hiring. What does that tell you? That either the Patriots didn't want to go out and really go get a guy, or they had trouble finding people to accept their job. So I think there's some of that at play. And
how about his consigliere or whatever you want to call Ben McAdoo? What's that?
So in looking at Ben McAdoo, the first thing that stands out, what's his title? Like senior offensive assistant? Felger, what does that tell you?
He's being paid by somebody else.
He signed a new contract with the Panthers in 2022. What I don't know was it a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal? It would kind of make sense that it is a 3-year deal and that the Panthers are still paying Ben McAdoo. But look, he knows Van Pelt. He's a good guy to bring as far as familiarity with the rest of the staff. But
are there any real positives, though, in hiring him? Is there something we're not seeing?
Eli Manning had a better year with him, I suppose. And he's worked with a lot of different quarterbacks and different staffs, so and he knows there's going to be harmony on the offensive staff.
Oh, harmony,
in theory. So there isn't a whole lot of that.
They can suck in harmony.
Yeah, I'm sure Judge, Patricia, and Bill got along great too. A tremendous harmony among those three.
But what's fascinating? What you're seeing?
Who cares?
With
they
the
suck.
There's all this. It's so obvious now that Elliot Wolf is rising in power and certainly an influence inside the building. He's the only one inside the building who's been elsewhere, who knows anyone. He's been other places. Matt Groh has never been anywhere else. Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington. They don't have a network and that was, to me, the big concern with promoting Gerard Mayo is that how are you going to build out a staff? And so really they're just relying on Elliot Wolf's connections because he's the only one who's even been anywhere else.
I know they're going to suck together.
In harmony.
In harmony, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Harmonious suckage.
Ben Volin joins us of the Globe.
Like a bad choir.
How do you feel about all that, Felger?
I'm disillusioned. I think it's so second rate. I just think I'm so underwhelmed by this rebuild and the reset of the organization. I just think.
I think you're disgusted.
I don't know what's to feel good about.
I'm worried that they're not putting Gerard Mayo in a position to succeed.
Oh, he's porked.
Yeah.
He might be good. He might be qualified. I don't like a defensive coach taking over, but maybe I'm wrong and he's great. But how do you possibly succeed? They just slap in together his coaching staff with guys that were just available, desperate for work, probably the cheapest guys on the market, or they're being paid elsewhere. What do you think, Van Pelt? He got fired in Cleveland. Is there offset there with the Browns? Are they paying part of it? So it's cheap guys, cast-off guys who weren't in demand. Van Pelt did have other interviews, so to be fair, he did have some other, I guess.
And I thought him getting...
At least interviews, but McAdoo was like, these guys just aren't in demand.
No, and I forgot what I was going to say about Van Pelt.
Okay, well, either way, so I just... And, Van Pelt's system, to me, doesn't really feel like it's on the forefront either. It feels like he runs the offense that Shanahan McVay took and evolved into something else. He's still running the Mike McCarthy thing.
He's been with Mike McCarthy. He's been with Zach Taylor of the Bengals, who runs kind of a West Coast system, and then Kevin Stefanski. So I like that. It's heavy play action, outside stretch. So it is in that Shanahan realm of that kind of offense. Oh, I was going to say it was a little strange to me that Van Pelt even got fired from the Browns this year. They went 11-5. They won games with 5 different quarterbacks or whatever. Joe Flacco actually played well. So I think him getting fired was probably more about something going on with Deshaun Watson and placating him. But I was a little surprised, actually, that he got fired because the Browns profiled pretty well this year.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have done a good job with those different quarterbacks. All right, for just 30 seconds, what do you think happened with Belichick, and where do you think he's going?
I think he was going to go to Atlanta. I heard it was pretty close, and I think the people in power there, namely Rich McKay, made it clear that he didn't think it would work with him and Belichick and other people. So I think I think Arthur Blank ultimately sided with his own people. But I heard he was really enamored with Belichick and that it was close. So, I'm leaning on, I don't think Belichick coaches again. I know, I think he'll keep an eye on the Cowboys and the Giants. I think those are 2 teams that very well could open and could land back on Belichick. It makes a lot of sense. But I hate to say it, but I think his age is going to be a big hindrance moving forward.